Welcome to the Procedural Anatomy animation transfer tutorial. With this one, we're going to jump right into it and start with the PA anim import node. This node's interface is a little bit funky, but you'll get used to it. We've got characters and animation, and right now I've got one character loaded. You can add more characters if you want to with that, and basically, if we did Tommy, but Tommy 1, we would get Tommy 1 up here. So these are your current character, or this is your current character, and this is your individual different characters, and they can be just different names, but those will be forwarded into folders of that name when we save these out. So we'll skip that one and then just go into the animation. Same thing up here with current animation. We only have one animation here, as you can see, but basically a lot of different options you can choose from. We will just go quickly through this. The name is just what you want your animation to be named. It doesn't have to be related to what your actual FBX file, animation file is. We're only using FBX right now, but that may change. We may have support more things in the future. And we have a few different options here. The main one we need is T-pose. And we've saved out a file that just has the T-pose, only the T-pose in that file, basically, of this animation. And then use the correct mapping. Mapping is just how the character skeleton relates to the animation skeleton. And we've chosen to set specific frame range for our animation. The nice thing is you can remap, so the animation is always going to start at 1001, end at 1150, and we're going to put in pre-roll, which is from the T-pose, which you can see like a rest kind of pose here, T-pose, rest pose. It's, anyway, it's 30 frames of pre-roll basically, and we're going to dive more into that, set those frame ranges in here, and then all these settings are going to be written out in your file as well too. And we'll come back to that as well too. I guess the only other thing to mention before I move on is Tommy here, and Tommy is the output that we have from the anatomy output node that we created our character with. So we've saved him out, given him the same name, and then given him the animation. Now we're ready to start working with this, and you will see this in the test scene to start with. Now, some of these are regular Houdini nodes, and some of these are procedural anatomy nodes, but this is kind of what I found to be the best mix. And the main thing is that we see the animation, the character skeleton here. And then we see our animation that we want to import here. And I've got my frame range set up a little bit wider than the end of it, but of the animation end frame. But we can start here and just scroll through and see that we've got an animation here. And then move through our different poses. I can see, pardon me, the rig match pose. And this configure joints node is just kind of, don't need that one, kind of helpful for eliminating rotation where you don't want it. Clavicle was moving too much in this instance, and those spines shouldn't be moving as much as they were either. Or at all, but the rig match pose is the first one we use after those two, merging them back together. So we've got the character skeleton coming out of the left and the animation coming out of the right. And then the rig match pose is going to match that, and you can see there's a slight difference there with the scene. The PA match pose is actually going to do something that you could do with the rig match pose manually. You can tweak the pose here. And if we select, you see you can match these to be manual, but because of the tech in procedural anatomy, we're able to just automatically match it for the most part. Sometimes they don't work with fingers and things like that. It's work in progress, but you can see here, now we're on the full body EIK node, And this is what actually transfers the animation to the new skeleton. And you can see the grayed out skeleton here is the original animation, and the white one is our character animation. So it looks pretty good. Maybe a little bit of a jump in there, but there's also something that is offered in Houdini where you can take a transform by attribute and put that in there, and you can see that the difference between the configure joints here and the rig match pose is slightly off. And if you want to fix that, we can just take this scene transform and invert it. So pretty much there, we have our arms moved there, and then transform it back just slight bit. Not super necessary, but the point is that you can get it back into the right position if you need it. The scale solve node is pretty straightforward. It turns it into what's called a rest pose. The main thing about the poses is that we're just taking it from a time to the start of the animation. And the T pose just has to match the animation, which is typical for um, animated skeletons having a T pose. But a rest pose is usually what's needed for a uh, character's muscle simulation. So these don't match, as you can see, and they don't have to match because we start at our pre-roll frame and then we go to 1001 as our start frame, and then they match. So pre-roll is going to two different places to fix the problem of having different poses at the very start of the pre-roll to match the skeleton versus match uh, the muscle simulation nodes. And then finally, we have our output anim export node. And you'll see just a bunch of different attributes in here, or parameters, pardon me. There's this one source FPS. This is broken. It's saying 0. It does have a frames per second. It's not infinite. The main thing is that we have version control, and you can see that we're sending it to our jobs/animation folder. And there's going to be a Tommy folder created. You can actually see this down here if you middle mouse button, or I think it's toggle expression. No, it's middle mouse button, but basically we're sending it to a place on disk via an expression. So you can have multiple characters and multiple animations all at once run through this simplistic, or not simplistic, simple. It's very much not simplistic, but very simple to work with. And then when we press that button, the create tops net, that actually creates these two, the top network and the out clip. Out clip is just to sort out some problems. And this one is actually, we need this in here as well. That should hopefully get fixed. But basically, these are going to be our work items for the animation. And when you have multiple animations, you'll see you get two different dots. But I pressed Shift and G on there, and we get our work item created in tops. Now, I could click that and cache this, but I've already done that. So we'll move on to the next tutorial. I did forget to mention the character index. This will switch between multiple characters. Obviously, I only have one here, so if I switch it to 2, it's going to set it to nothing. But um, this and the current index for the animation do the same thing based on the context. But they also are made to have a local variable as their default. It sets it to 0, so breaking the number 1, obviously. But you get the idea. If you have the character index and the anim index in there, right? So you will see it's broken, but you have the automate network available. This will enable you to press Shift and G and cook the node, and then click on the little dot, and you'll see that it comes back because this is a local variable that's controlled by tops. So that character index is 1, current index is 1. And there is a bug, I believe, if I open the tops table graph, yes. So you're not going to be able to see anything on here. We will have to talk to side effects about that. It seems to be something that it should be able to be visible, but it's not in this instance. Anyway, that's it.